Hello everybody, so this is a video I've been wanting to put together for a while. I apologize in advance, I'm on the tail end of being sick, but we're going to go forward anyway. I want to talk about accessibility and walkability in the city of Rochester, Minnesota. So I'm going to take you around to some of the places I frequent, talk about the good, the bad, and the needs improvement of Rochester. So let's do it. So to start here, I'm gonna walk down to one of the places I work during the summer. Got some live music in the area, but I want to show specifically this intersection up here. And what I'm going to try to do, apologize, it's very windy, but what I'm going to try to do in one of the sections here is to kind of give you an idea for how I see. So I'm going to crop the video to fill just the center of the screen, so that you kind of get an idea for what it would be like to travel as me in first person, if you will. So what kinds of visual landmarks are helpful or not as I travel. If I can talk over the tunes here, this intersection specifically is not very good for general travel because the arrows are unpredictable, the traffic is unpredictable. At night, there's almost no lighting here, which doesn't do me a lot of favors when I'm coming home from a game at 11:30 at night. And I'll show you more about how and where that's not helpful. But I'm going to try to get across here and we'll walk over to the ball field. Alright, time for the shoot and pray method of vlogging. Made it across the street there. Yeah, this area, I mean, it's narrow, and I can tell you right now there's some stuff on the ground. It's like some construction equipment. People like to leave Rochester's bazillions of Lime scooters all over the floor, which really doesn't do me any favors. Coming back at 11 o'clock at night from a baseball game when I'm tired, and I just want to go home. And like I said before, this whole area is not very well lit, which doesn't really help. If that were to be improved, I think we'd get, not only it would be safer over here for everybody, but I feel like more people would, be inclined to walk down for a ball game and stuff. So I'm hoping that maybe that's something that can get looked at sooner rather than later, to be honest. But we're gonna keep walking down here. But overall, Rochester, for being the city that has the Mayo Clinic, really struggles with a lot of accessibility things that are just, to my mind, probably oversights. I don't think it's intentional, bad design, but there's a lot that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, and I'm hoping that today I can show you some of those things in a way that makes some sense for those of you that may not be as familiar with accessibility and what's needed. I'm no expert. I'm not an urban planner. I'm not an urban designer. We're crossing over Silver Lake. I just go off of my lived experience, and that's all I got. As the wind picks up on the bridge here. So what I do is when I hit the end of this bridge, we're going to turn down and head towards Mayo Field, which is where I work. So we'll see you in a second when we get over to the ballpark. Alright, so this parking lot is a good example of what not to do. There's a really long sidewalk that I'm on now that really needs to connect back up to the stadium. It kind of comes along Silver Lake. I'll kind of turn here, and it comes behind
0 hours, 0 minutes, and 15 seconds.
The lake, doesn't really connect very well to the stadium. And again, as soon as you leave the area where the ballpark lights are, it's really hard to see what's going on. So that doesn't do me a lot of favors. So Mayo Field, better lighting is essentially the MO. That's really what would help out a lot, just in terms of safety, but also in terms of accessibility, lowering some of the counters at the ballpark and things like that. I'm happy to talk specifically about Mayo Field on another day, but that's what I got for that. Let's head to some other spots downtown, and I'll give you some more input and We'll see you in a minute. All right, so we're gonna walk. I'm gonna try to do the kind of first-person-esque thing. We're actually gonna put the camera up on top of my hat so that it's moving as my head moves. Hopefully the audio is all right. It's windy, but ahead of me here is the bridge that I was on before. We're gonna hop back onto there, and if nothing else, we'll use this as B-roll. Head back towards some of downtown, and the street that I'm going to turn onto here is one of two that kind of make up a middle cross section of Rochester. So Rochester is divided into quadrants based on the compass. So you have, I am due east at the moment because I'm on center, but to my right would be Rochester's north, to my left would be Rochester south, behind me would be Rochester's east, and ahead of me is the west. And at first I was very confused by this whole system and it drove me nuts, but now that I've been here for almost 2 years, it does help me kind of stay oriented to where business are in relation to one another. For example, I work in the northwest. I used to work on the southwest. And it generally kind of gives you an idea for the way things are laid out, yeah. So we're gonna keep on cruising, and I'll see you in a minute. We're gonna get a little further downtown, and we'll talk some more about some indoor accessibility next. All right, so the intersection I am approaching at the moment is essentially the center of downtown. So this is Broadway and Center, and my walk sign is on. And the reason I know my walk sign is on because this uses an APS system, and that is a beeping crosswalk. So it's really helpful for intersections that are busy or unpredictable. For better and for worse, this is the main intersection, so the traffic patterns are actually pretty predictable, especially when you compare that back that way is where we were a while ago. And we're gonna keep heading up Broadway so that I can show you some indoor accessibility critiques. But these walk signs on is what I hear, and then it'll tell you the name of the street you're going to cross, and if you press and hold, it'll tell you the name of the intersection. So they need these in a couple more places, not because I'm not able to cross streets, but because those streets are unpredictable and run on smart lights that are based on the traffic. And so in a lot of the classes I took in orientation and mobility, which is kind of traffic instruction, I learned to you do your traffic kind of based on timing. So let's say your green light's 30 seconds, your red light's 15. You know that for that intersection. Unfortunately, traffic lights don't really work like that anymore. So what I'm going to show you here, I have the focus locked on my iPhone. So the way that I cropped video before, I'm going to try to do that here now and show you that when I go into a building, I lose a lot of my vision in terms of how I receive light. So out here, I am adjusted, and I can, pick up the visual reference points that I need in order to, oops, that came collapsing on me, in order to navigate. When I go inside, the first little while goes away almost instantly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in here to the little mall at the U of M campus, and I'm going to show you why indoor navigation accessibility is just as important, if not in some cases even more so, than outdoor. Because when it's winter and it's cold, here in Rochester. This is a great place to go walk around. There's a lot of shops in the area, and it's a very nice place, albeit with some issues. Okay, so as a proof of concept here, if I focus large, this is what it's like for me to walk into a building. Albeit a little exaggerated, but I lose a lot of ability to pick up on visual focus. Now, for sighted people, right, you walk into a building and this happens almost immediately. Your eyes adjust very quickly to the environment in which you find yourself. That does not happen for me. And so I have to use a lot of landmarks. So usually I find this post. Ahead of this post is a furniture area here. I find one of these. Now, these are not angled correctly, but I'll find this corner and kind of use this as a quasi-straight angle, and then make sure that I'm hitting the right-hand escalator. Clean first, me second, and up we go. So one of the things that Rochester has to make winter travel a little bit easier are the Skyways and the subways. But these are not fantastically non-visually friendly. So what I'm going to do is we're going to walk towards the back of the mall area, and we're going to find one of these Skyways, and I'll show you what I mean. So if I hit a joke, it's like a Roomba. I got to go until I hit something and take a left. So we're going to switch the camera around and talk a little bit about the Skyways. Okay, so if you would not necessarily know that this Skyway is here, from an auditory standpoint, it sounds like a weird little alcove. You know, it's a little echoey, but it's not extraordinarily obvious. I think a change in floor texture would potentially be helpful for any time that you're entering or exiting the Skyway. Maybe they're carpeted, and then the areas off them are not. But you'll see that these are kind of an inconsistent mess. We're gonna walk through them. So I have a small amount of usable vision. Even so, this right here, there's just these weird dog leg turns. They happen everywhere and are not fantastically helpful for learning the layout of the Skyway. So as we kind of make our way through here, the Twin Cities is well known for having Skyways that connect a lot of things. They are complex. You know, some might start on the third floor in one location and go to the second in another, so they're kind of all over the place. Where does this one go? I don't remember, so we're not going to mess with doors. I don't remember what's connected to what. We're going to go to another Skyway to talk more about these, because I don't know these well enough not to open a door I'm not supposed to open. So I will be back in a minute. So as we walk to find a new Skyway, I'm not against Skyways, man. I think they're fantastic for the winter. This winter I came here a lot because there's some cool shops, there's some good restaurants in here, and it's a nice place that is not far from where I live to walk around. But when it's relatively unintuitive to get around, it really gets frustrating to find the things that you want to find. And I'll talk more about that when we get to the subways, which no, it's not a train, and no, it's not the restaurant. There was a subway in the Skyway, but the subway in the Skyway is now closed, so that level of confusion has dissipated somewhat. We're gonna come down to this end, I believe, take a right, please, and we're gonna flip around and we'll try this one instead. Okay, so here we are. The same thing walking through here. So actually, as we come over here, we are above the part of the plaza here, which is kind of cool. Check out the window here. Very neat. And we'll kind of further our journey. But yeah, there's signage that confuses people with full vision around here. I hear people coming all the time and they're just, you know, how do you get down here? How do you get to this area? There are areas here that I would not have known were here had I not had them pointed out to me. For example, I think this here, I hope it's closed off. But way down back there, there's like a whole bunch of little food places. that I had no idea existed. Oops, here we're gonna. Here, I should probably just keep the. Apologize for the weird focus quality here, but the lighting changes so often in these. The floor is uneven, which is probably not fun if you're in a manual wheelchair. But I suppose that sort of is what it is. And here, I keep on going. But yeah, I don't know what the solution is. I think tactile maps that have clear labels would be helpful for me personally, with Braille, because there's no good way to learn these. I mean, I've come over here several times and I just walk around like this and try to learn things. But some of these spaces are so ambiguous. For example, this is a giant open space that used to have a lot more going on. Sounds like the escalators here are not working, but I've been here a few times, and this used to be a really good way to get down to the subways as well, I believe. I'm kind of tempted to like walk down here and see what's going on, but yeah, this was an area that acted as kind of a bridge point between the Skyways and the subways. We're gonna see if there's not any, I'm gonna use these escalators as stairs. I don't remember which side. See, I don't know this space very well. Like I said, there used to be more down here, and I think there still is a way to get down again. I just don't know where. And this is exactly the problem. I think if we follow this around, maybe there's another way. I don't know. I don't, but this is exactly my point. These should not be confusing. These should not be frustrating to navigate, especially if you're here for the Mayo Clinic, you're here for treatment. Okay, I'm cheating and using my vision a little. That, to me, looks like a staircase with some description. But yeah, this is just like, it's crazy. Oh, I see. Are you blocked off? What's this? Posty boy? I think it might be. Okay. Well, that solves that, huh? But yeah, there's not a lot of friendly design in some of these spaces, which is frustrating. So that's kind of what I have on the Skyways. I'm gonna see if I can find some kind of a way to get to the subways. If not, we'll go on to our next thing. So either way, through the power of editing, we'll see you in a second. Okay, so I cheated and I found an elevator. I had to use my vision. There's no way I would have found that otherwise, especially because there's like nobody here. But here's where the elevators are. This set of escalators not working is throwing me off a lot because this was usually a really big visual or auditory clue for this area, even to the point where I knew based on where the sound was coming from, which kind of how I'm oriented in the area. So obviously the escalators are going to be louder here, and then they make a different sound towards the back end of the escalator. But let's walk as though you're looking through my vision. And again, the only reason I know this is because I had to kind of explore before recording to figure out where in the world I am. Look at how wonky this all is. And again, the physical space itself is one thing. It's the designing lack of, it is what it is. This area has wooden floors. Some of the other areas have carpet floors. There's a whole nother hallway full of shops that I still don't really understand how to get to. I have gotten there a few times on accident, but it's Sunday today, so not much is open. It's frustrating navigating spaces like this because for a city that has one of the top medical care facilities in the world, and has patients with a variety of physical needs and visual impairments, physical, wheelchairs, things like mobility aids. Accessibility is there in terms of, yes, there are ramps and there are elevators, but it is so far from intuitive. As far as these shops, I mean, I can't tell you a darn thing about what's in them. Used to come down here for Dairy Queen because he had some quality chicken tenders, but that has, like the Subway, gone the way of the dodo. Do I want to go this way? This seems weird. I think this gets us to maybe the Kaler, which is a hotel. But I think you guys get the point. I mean, it's present, and yes, there are technically elevators and things like that, but it's so unintuitive. I get lost all the time just coming down to wander around, and it gets frustrating to try to navigate non-visually, so it's something that definitely needs to be worked on. So what you're seeing here is some sped up kind of B-roll, and this is just me walking the subway, so you can see just how crazy and labyrinthy and weird it is. And of course there was like nobody there, so it's kind of quiet. And it's just a really hard space to navigate. I think that these were developed as Rochester was developed, and so they're twisty and turny and crazy and all over the place. These specific subways actually used to be part of a morgue, and so the area was built around what was given. But as you'll see in a minute, I had to escape. I had to figure out a way to get out, and I was able to do that. But hopefully this lends some light into just how confusing these particular spaces are, and makes some kind of sense to those of you who may not look at this from an accessibility standpoint. If there's anything you guys want me to cover on this channel as far as accessibility, or if there's anything that doesn't make sense, I'm definitely happy to talk about more of these types of things down the road. This was just something that I've been meaning to put together for a while, because these are spaces and these are things that I use in my everyday life to traverse the city, and I just wish that they were more friendly to people without vision, and just in general I wish they were designed in a way that was a little more streamlined and allowed for easy travel, because that is what I depend on because I can't drive. So we'll continue here and hopefully enjoy the rest of the video, but thanks for checking it out, guys. Well, I just found an elevator I had no idea existed, and it took me up to a place where I've been once before, but I had no idea the two were even close to one another, let alone practically on top of each other. It's a very bizarre feeling when you're so disoriented. I mean, this is almost back rooms-esque when it's quiet, and it's very creepy. Well, it is very windy, but I have made it back outside. Thank goodness. That place freaks me out, man. It's not well designed. It's very quiet when there's nobody around, and it's not always clear to me where you're supposed to go and where you're not supposed to go. So hopefully that video made some semblance of sense. I know we went a little all over the place to check things out, but if you have any questions, let me know. If you want to see anything more in depth or have any questions, throw them in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you later. Peace.